Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namasami. Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to this Wednesday evening Sutta talk at the Empty Cloud Monastery. Tonight's sutta is a very beautiful poem, and I'm just going to read it through slowly with some pausing, leaving some moments to contemplate and let the verses sink in, and then we can discuss at the end. This is from the Sutta Nipata, and it's called the Sallasutta, or the dart. Unforeseen and unknown is the extent of this mortal life, hard and short and bound to pain. There is no way that those born will not die. On reaching old age, death follows. Such is the nature of living creatures. As ripe fruit are always in danger of falling, so mortals, once born, are always in danger of death. As clay pots made by a potter all end up being broken, so is the life of mortals. Young and old, foolish and wise, all go under the sway of death. All are destined to die. When those overcome by death leave this world for the next, a father cannot protect his son, nor relatives their kin. See how, while relatives look on, wailing profusely, mortals are led away one by one, like a cow to the slaughter. And so the world is stricken by old age and death. That is why the attentive do not grieve, for they understand the way of the world. For one whose path you do not know, not whence they came, nor where they went, you lament in vain, seeing neither end. If a bewildered person, lamenting and self-harming, could extract any good from that, then those who see clearly would do the same. For not by weeping and wailing will you find peace of heart. It just gives rise to more suffering and distresses your body. Growing thin and pale, you hurt yourself. It does nothing to help the dead. Your lamentation is in vain. Unless a person gives up grief, they fall into suffering all the more. Bewailing those whose time has come, you fall under the sway of grief. See too other folk departing, passing on according to their deeds, falling under the sway of death. Beings flounder while still here. For whatever you imagine it is, it turns out to be something else. Such is separation. See the way of the world. Even if a human lives 100 years or more, they are parted from their family circle. They leave this life behind. Therefore, having learned from the Perfected One, dispel lamentation. Seeing the dead and departed, think, I cannot escape this. As one would extinguish a blazing refuge with water, so too an attentive one, a wise, astute, and skilled person, would swiftly blow away grief that comes up, like the wind a tuft of cotton. One who seeks their own happiness would pluck out the dart from themselves, the wailing and moaning, the sadness inside. With the dart plucked out, unattached, having found peace of mind, overcoming all sorrow, one is sorrowless and quenched. This reading tonight is indirectly related to the theme of mindfulness because in the Satipatthana Sutta, under the contemplation of the body, one of the themes which is offered for reflection is what's commonly called the corpse meditation, inviting us to focus on in the Satipatthana, it's focusing on a deceased body. As it goes through the stages of decay, decomposition. Part of the theme, one of the concepts, things to explore, which is an aspect of mindfulness, is to be aware of impermanence, anicca, to be aware that nothing is permanent, nothing lasts forever, and then by extension, the delusion about a permanent, unchanging self, or the delusion that things have a permanent and unchanging essence, is gradually worn away by contemplating impermanence. And the impermanence of the life of this body is a really powerful and important starting point for this understanding. Sometimes when people start meditation, they might think of impermanence as something that's very momentary, and striving to see instant by instant, even within a small fraction of a second, to try to perceive how the experience, whatever we're perceiving or whatever we're experiencing, is continuously changing. But then, on the scale of a lifetime, having the body come to an end, and it really, you can't fool yourself, even if you believed in an idea about rebirth, that you thought that there was a self which could, in some kind of a way, jump from out of this body and jump up to heaven and be with the gods in heaven, or go to some other realm, and or having the idea that that you could discover some kind of a self that was permanent and forever and unchanging. Nevertheless, the body, the living body, will not last. It will shut down. It will come to a cessation. It will return to the elements. So the gassy part of the body will blend with the air, and the solid part of the body will blend with the earth, and become dust. Even if a person is lucky enough to be trained in mindfulness, if they are, if the death comes to them, or if their final illness is a little bit more gradual, they may have an opportunity to experience the different parts of the body coming to their cessation. So during a person's final illness, the digestive system shuts down and stops operating. The sense of vision might shut down and stop operating. The sense of smell might shut down and stop operating. They say that the sense of hearing is one that lasts longer than the other senses, but all of the sensory awareness shuts down and stops operating. And then the breath itself, it's conceivable that a person could still be conscious at the moment of death, and when the last exhalation goes, and that's the end of breath. It's possible to experience that, but very few people have a chance to experience that more than once in a lifetime. I suppose some people have what's called a near-death experience, where they are very close on the point of death, and they have some kind of direct observation of what it's like to approach death. But for most of us, we only get to have death once in a while. But we can make the awareness of the inevitability of death real for us by looking at the other beings which have died, to look at the corpse of the beings which have died, to be with other beings as they go through their death process. If there was a naive person who didn't know that life was impermanent, it could be like a child or a young person who had never experienced the death of anybody. And then for some reason they had the opportunity and they did experience the death of a pet, or a death of a relative, a death of a person, even the death of a classmate in school. It can be extremely shocking because the first time that one experiences the loss of a loved one, it is revealed to what a vast extent a person could have an unexamined assumption that the configuration of your own self and the people around you is kind of a permanent part of the picture. So if I think like who am I? It's not just that I might be a person who's bounded by these dimensions of this body, or somebody who has had certain abilities or certain accomplishments or things like that. But it is also that I am a person who is situated within the constellation of the other people and living beings who are around me. So when I was a child, I had one older sister and two older brothers, and one younger brother, and a mother and a father, and I had two grandmothers and two grandfathers, and I had my aunts and uncles and cousins, and that was really was an identity. Later, when especially the death of my younger brother, it was the one that was so shocking, because eventually we feel that there's a natural order of things, that the elders will die first, and the ones who are young will die later, and you don't expect children to die. You then it can be a sort of a shock, like it's an injury to the delusion of the self. If we have that delusion, if we're not really aware, if we've not prepared ourselves. Even the contemplation in the other sutta, in the Satipatthana Sutta, the charnel ground meditations, the first few verses of that contemplation show the deceased body in a form which is deeply dangerous and repulsive. It's showing the body which is bloated and festering and rotten. And a body like that is full of disease. A body like that is actually a danger and a threat to our own life. If we were to touch a rotting, decomposed body, we would have a danger that we could catch a disease and become sick ourselves. Uh, and then when you see that deceased body being, pecked away and eaten by the wild animals, it's something that uh, arouses fear and terror, arouses a kind of a horror. And so, why does the Buddha put something so pessimistic and terrible? Well, the Buddha said, uh, there is dukkha, there is suffering, and the suffering of the loss of the loved ones to whom we are attached is the most tremendous kind of dukkha. It's the most fundamental dukkha that a person has to experience in the world, is the loss of the people that they've grown attached to. Even apart from the emotional attachment, somebody's death can be a kind of like a huge disaster for the family, because if it's a parent who dies, then they are not able to take care of the children. Or if it's a spouse who's earning a livelihood, helping to support the family, then it could cause a tremendous financial disaster for the family. So all the plans that the family has, whether they want to, have the children grow up and be successful and go to college and have a normal life, or if they want the spouse is going to um, um, be able to accumulate some wealth and be able to have a good retirement or something like that. And then because of the death of a spouse and everything being turned upside down, that family could be plunged into poverty. And all of the plans and hopes that family had can be put in danger because of death. That's the danger of death. Death really is like an enemy. It's like a a plague or a disaster that could fall on a family. Mm. Of course, we know that it's also very possible that a person might be able to live their complete lifespan and could be able to plan ahead for their death, that they could have made all of the possible arrangements to take care of the practical necessities. And that's a good idea. If you know that you're going to die, you should do those things if you can. And not only that, if you know that you're going to die, you should take care of any quarrels or disputes that you might have, and solve those problems. If there's anybody that you've harmed, you should apologize and ask for their forgiveness, because you might die, or they might die. Or if there's somebody who's harmed you, you should forgive them and reconcile with them. Not just that you forgive them in your mind. If possible, you should find them, go see them, and reconcile with them so that they know that relationship is reconciled. Because if they harmed you and then you go and you die on them, that could leave them with a terrible wound to their heart, because they'll be living with so much remorse about the unfinished aspect of the relationship. So good to take care of those things if possible. Mm. And yet, even when we make all of these efforts, it still can happen that death is a sort of a kind of a disaster. For those who are on this path of practice, one of the reflections that we do as those who have gone forth in the monastic form, uh, we say that we developed superhuman attainments so that later on, when we're close to death, if our companions inquire what we've accomplished on this path, we won't be feeling ashamed because we wasted the whole life and we didn't accomplish anything. And yet, I know that it can happen. Even somebody who's a sincere practitioner, or somebody who even has a stream entry path, or has possibly has okay, I won't say necessarily somebody who has noble attainments, that they would be distressed at the time of death, but people who are striving for the noble path, people who are striving for stream entry or beyond that, it can happen that like anxiety and fear comes along as death is approaching. And so if we really do this work, the time when somebody is approaching death can be a time to awaken if they've not wakened up already. It could be that experiencing the actual closing down of the body could be the one heavenly messenger that was the messenger that we needed to have the breakthrough of realizing impermanence and non-self. But it will be wiser to don't wait until the very end, but use this death contemplation as a way to try, if you can, to motivate yourself to see what you would be able to accomplish before the time comes. You actually don't know what the circumstances are going to be. Oh, you could be this very wise, gentle, enlightened kind of person, and while you're laying on your deathbed and your relatives are worried about you, and you can comfort them, tell them, don't be sad. I'm not sad. Why should you be sad? That would be nice. You could die like that. But it also could happen that you could be struck down very quickly and not have a minute to think, or you could have be struck with something that affects your brain or affects your mind, so that you don't have a chance to think clearly at the very end. So don't wait until later. Do the work now. Do the work now. The poem that we just read, the Sallasutta, the dart, is in the first part of the sutta, is very much directed not so much thinking about anticipating one's own death, but rather directed towards the situation of somebody who has lost a loved one from death, and advising them to consider that all beings must die, as a way of being comforted. So if I am particularly attached to somebody that I love, and that person dies on me, then that is like an individual wound on my self-image, on my self-delusion has been wounded, and so it becomes personal. And so then it's because of that personal wounding, that personal loss, that uh, brings about the grief or the sorrow, the lamentation, possibly compounded by the remorse and sorrow if we have any unfinished resentments or unfinished argument or any unfinished remorse in connection to that person, and compounded by fear if there's any practical difficulties and dangers that we are going to face when we no longer have the protection of that person. So we need to, when we take the understanding that all beings must die, then we realize that it's not a particular wound to us. We're just one clay pot thrown to the ground and broken among all of the countless numbers of clay pots that have been broken in that way. That millions of people every day are facing the same kinds of challenges, remorse and grief. And so it's not just our personal wound just to us, but it's something that happens to us that is happening to beings all over the world. And it's happening at every level of the loss. The danger of the wounded to one's self-image, the danger of unfinished business and remorse between people, or unfinished resentments. That might be even worse. I think maybe resentments are even stronger than remorse. And if the person dies, then while they are your enemy, then you could become a Jataka story and be reborn as that person's enemy over and over again until you finally figure it out, right? But you and the danger of the practical fears, even if you or were a parent and a child died, we those who are parents might know how, despite our best efforts to let go, we do have a lot invested because of some kind of identification with our own children. We could think that if we have children, that they're going to be for us at the end, that when we come to be sick at the end, that our children are going to manage to take care of us one way or another. Or we may think that when we come to our death, that our children will be there to take care of us. Or we may think that whatever we value in our life, if we think that our blood, like our genetic clan, like our child is just like us because they have our genes, and so they were born of our clan, and so whatever the heritage that was passed down through the generations, so that we know that our family line is not going to die out, and that our family line is going to continue. If that's something that we think is important to us, but then when that young person who, maybe that young person was supposed to take over the family business, and supposed to, continue the reputation and the name of the family was supposed to be continued with that child. But then if they're taken away on death, then all of a sudden we realize how foolish we were to think that we could count on that. Everything that we expect becomes something otherwise. We can't count on it. We can't count on anybody to take care of us later on. Even in a child cannot know for sure that the parents are going to be able to live to take care of them. Somebody who gets married, they can't know whether their spouse is going to stick around. Or they should say they know for sure that you're going to be separated. One of you is going to die before the other one. So you will be separated by death, if not sooner than that. And so knowing how unreliable this samsara is, knowing it thoroughly, knowing it deeply, then we can purify our love for the people who are proximate to us, the relatives. We can still do our duties, do our responsibilities, take care of our children, take care of our spouses, take care of our parents, be loving towards all of them. All of these things are highly praiseworthy, praised by the Buddha, recommended by the Buddha. So there's nothing saying that you would not be doing your duty of care and love and consideration for those who are close to you. But even while you're doing that, the sense that you are depending on them for anything at all has to be eliminated. You need to become independent. You don't depend on anybody for anything. Whatever you receive from others, that's a gift. And you may gratefully receive the gift of loving kindness and all the things that we receive from the people around us. But we don't depend on any of it, not able to count on any of it, not able to rely on any of it. And then if we can finally get a hold of that, then we've done a very significant and important part of the work that we have to do. If we are sons and daughters of the Buddha who are devoted to following the path that the Buddha has laid out for us. So I shall now bring this part to a close and see if there's any questions. Welcome, Chintana, Manal, Brian, Sudha, Gregory, Moonbeam. I see a couple of questions from Sutta. Dear Ayyā, I know someone who is 102 years old. When asked, he would say, I am not ready to go yet. I have another 8 years. It's a pretty ubiquitous tendency to hold on to life. Why is it so? From the standpoint of Buddhism, since death is inevitable, how can one protect oneself from a poor destination after death? Okay, here's 2 questions. Why do people cling to life? In my opinion, I do a little bit of blending of Buddhism with Western science. And I remember what I learned in school about the theories of Charles Darwin and how those animals and creatures that were able to live and survive long enough to have offspring, and also those animals who were able to care for their offspring such that the offspring also live. Those are the animals that we still have on the earth today. The animals that were less successful in living long enough, or who were less successful in protecting their offspring, did not survive, and they've gone extinct. So we don't have them anymore. So because of that, I believe that beings, sentient beings, have a lot of inbred qualities that help them to live. So, like a plant is able to draw the nourishment from the ground and live and put out their seeds or do what plants do. And some plants are able to store up water inside their form so that they have got some juice inside so they can get by even on a desert during a long dry spell. Okay, so now plants are not sentient, but humans are sentient, and we've got these qualities also naturally. We naturally pull our hand away from a burning fire. We naturally look for food and eat food. We naturally look for something to drink and eat something to drink. We naturally fall in love and make babies. And when we make the babies, we naturally take care of them and protect them until they're strong enough to take care of themselves. And all of these things are things that we inherited the instinct to do those things as part of our genetics, but because we're also sentient, and then also like culture is also becomes part of inheritance, then all of the cravings, most of the things that people crave, actually, when it comes down to it, it's because they want to live and they want to be more successful. So someone who's a multi-billionaire who wants to gobble up another gigantic company to become even more wealthy, that like driving behind that, at the very behind that, is that person has got like the fear that this world is heading for a disaster, and they want to be like the frugal ant. I guess the ant collects a lot of food, and they bring all the food into their nest, and so they've got plenty of food to get through the winter. Whereas the careless, I guess the grasshopper is the one who's careless, that doesn't take care, and the grasshopper doesn't survive because he didn't save up his food. And so that billionaire is like compulsively accumulating more and more and more and more and more without any limitation. And it's just because he wants to live, but somehow that natural instinct has gotten unbalanced. And so then just the same way with medicine. If a person has a serious disease, and the doctors will try one thing, and then they'll try something else, and they'll try something else, and depending on that person's intention, if they want to, some people will do anything to live a little bit longer. They're even willing to pay extra hundreds of thousands of dollars for experimental medicine, just to see if they could make their life last a little bit longer. Even if their quality of life is not good, they do that because somehow that natural tendency to live becomes somehow it goes out of control like that, and they just want to live longer. And actually, the wars the conflicts are really about the anxieties of powerful people feeling that instinct for survival has somehow become a cancer, and it's broken out, and it's like growing without any limits or any boundaries. So that's my opinion about that. And then Suda's next question: since death is inevitable, how can one protect oneself from a poor destination after death? The best protection of all will be stream entry. It's a guarantee that one who gains stream entry would not be reborn to a lower destination. And to gain stream entry, one should associate with people of integrity. One should listen to the true Dhamma. One should direct the awareness inwards to have wise attention towards your own body and mind. So the work is to be done here. So if the work doesn't happen out there with your business or your diploma or your car or your house, that's not where the work is. The work is inside here. So direct attention there, and then follow the teachings of the Buddha. Even if someone is just has a faith follower and has the intention to be aiming and striving for the noble path and making that effort, then that is something that would help them to avoid a bad destination. And then if a person does a lot of merits, now it doesn't mean that you gave a lot of money or that you did a lot of charity, you did a lot of projects, you volunteered here, you volunteered there, you've done all of these activities. It's not just the external of the merits that you do that is protecting you. It's the internal, that when you're doing these good deeds, you're doing it with the thought of loving kindness. You're doing it with the thought of compassion. You're doing it with the thought of renunciation, to renounce and to seek to be freed from your own greed. And so habitually doing virtuous and kind actions of body, speech, and mind with those kinds of noble intentions would tend to lead you to a rebirth in the Brahma realm, which would be the opposite of a poor destination. So the practice of the Brahma Viharas, cultivating loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, that kind of practice, living that kind of life, if you don't obtain the noble path just by itself, living like that will tend to bring you to be reborn in the Brahma realm. And the Brahma realm is a really great realm. It's a wonderful place to live. There's two kinds of devas. I should say there's the devas and the Brahmas. So the devas are the gods who are still part of the Kamaloka, still part of our world system. So from the lowest hells through the animal realm and the human realm and our lower ranks of the gods is all part of the Kamaloka, all subjected to sensual craving. So the devas that are born in heaven, if they're not enlightened, they did merits that got them to there, but they they like happiness and pleasure. And so while they're in that deva existence, their whole life is really pleasant and they get lots of happiness and pleasure. But that's also the big danger for them. But those beings who are born in the Brahma realm are not clinging to happiness and pleasure anymore. So I think it's a big step up. If you can't be a stream runner, it's a big step up to develop the Brahma Viharas, to be not selfish, not seeking after pleasure, but seeking to practice those four qualities. And then that's also a beautiful realm, but it's a realm which is dominated by just those four practices. And the only danger they have left is they're a little bit deluded sometimes, but that's a better destination. And they say that somebody who lives like an animal will be reborn as an animal. So it's like when you eat your food, or you're just going, just all you think of is food, and then when you go to sleep, you only think of sleep. And when you whatever your work is that you just work, and you never think about anything, and everything is dull. It's like you're living like an animal, and reacting like an animal. Then you can be born as an animal. Or if you live in a world of hatred and war, and you're in waging a long-term battle, then you could be born in a corresponding realm. Ryan asks, Dear Ra, what type of determinations could we do that would work to be reborn in a human plane or other plane that would allow us to help and guide our loved ones, please? Well, I know that there are humans who have the talent and the gift and the blessing to be born where they have a chance to hear the Dhamma and learn the Dhamma, and then they have a gift or an inclination or an ability to help others, and they may have that ability to help and guide loved ones if they've got those kinds of accomplishments. And I know that it's also definitely true that in the Deva realms and in the Brahma realms, that there are beings in those realms who are disciples of the Buddha. And those beings do very regularly come down to earth and help the humans. The Brahma Sahapati came down to earth and he helped the Buddha on several occasions. And the god Sakka visited the Buddha on several occasions because he wanted to discuss the Dhamma. The god Sakka on one occasion went to the Brahma realm to have a Dhamma discussion with the gods in the Brahma realm. So if you then the pattern that you set in this lifetime is likely to be the pattern that would continue. So if what you're doing in this lifetime is having the thought, the aim, and the intention to guide the loved ones, then that intention might have its fruit in a following life. Kayo says, Buddha says everything is impermanent. The couple who has love until death part them seems like permanent love for each other. Yes. So the vow that they might have made at marriage to love one another until death, and on paper, that's lasting the whole time. But I think that the shape of that love and the way the love is manifesting changes a lot during the course of life. Sometimes it's very powerful and emotional. Sometimes it may be that they might feel frustrated with each other. And even despite the frustration, because of their beliefs and values, they love them anyway. Even something could happen, like one of the partners goes the wrong way and is acting very unskillfully, and then even the other partner could feel very repulsive, saying, "Oh, that's horrible! That's horrible!" They feel really terrible, and yet they love them anyway because that's something that they decided to do. So it's true that the love continues, but the love is not always just the same. It is continuously changing. It's continuously evolving, and it's evolving and changing because of causes and conditions. For some people, they're lucky enough that the causes support the evolution, so they continue to love all through their marriage until death. Other people, like different conditions, it could happen. Sometimes the love dies. And then they're separated. So when we do the practice of loving kindness meditation, we are not practicing loving kindness for our deceased relatives. This is particularly mentioned in the commentary in the Visuddhimagga. And the reason for that advice is when you're practicing loving kindness towards beings that are alive, there's a live connection to those other beings. And if you practice or try to practice to beings who are not alive, then you don't have that live connection. A friend of mine actually had this experience. She took a retreat with a very wonderful Buddhist teacher called Shaila Catherine. And Shaila made that recommendation to just do the metta practice towards those who are living. And my friend her friend was very ill. And so she was really focusing on sending loving kindness to her friend that was ill. And then during the retreat, she lost the connection. And it's like whatever she was experiencing just went blank. And that friend had passed away at that moment. So I know in the sutta it says that sometimes beings who are strongly connected get born in a way that they could meet again in subsequent lifetimes. But nevertheless, it's not permanent in the sense of a permanent, unchanging essence. Instead, it's a living stream of intention, which is constantly evolving because of causes and conditions. How often does the Buddha recommend one practice death contemplation to get beyond fear of one's own demise? I don't recall a recommendation for a specific frequency of this practice. In general, my idea is that teaching like this should be thoroughly practiced and worked with until it becomes integrated and taken on board as something that one really understands and is, and it becomes like an intuitive awareness. And then I know that I spend 1 month a year in death contemplation, and it's also something that whenever okay, so whenever I notice anything wrong with my body, then at that moment I could say, okay, it's happening. So, or if I happen to have an occasion to become aware of, in our line of work, people will come often to dedicate merits because of those who have passed away. And so we, in the temple, have a very frequent chance to be reminded. So, but if you want to be reminded about death, right, you could live in a Buddhist temple, or you could open a newspaper and be regularly reminded about how common and frequent death is in this world. But my main idea is that it would be good to focus on this teaching. When you're able to focus on this teaching, then is the time to work on it, and then work on it until you master it. And then when you've mastered this contemplation, then you'll always have it with you, and it will arise intuitively and quickly on many occasions in your life. This is Moonbeams. Ayyā, how can we practice independence from others without forgetting interdependency? So, yes, the interdependency is by way of causation. So we are connected to everything through causes and conditions. The kind of independence that the Buddha recommends is the opposite of grasping. So there's craving for what we don't have and what we think we want. And then the grasping onto the things, whatever we either want to keep or that is part of our identity. So when we stop the grasping, we would be independent in that way. But even being independent in that way, we might experience even more strongly our interdependence and interconnection with all beings in the world because of being more awake and more open. So that was all the questions for tonight. I would like to thank you for your patient listening. Sadhu, 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 anumodana.